Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking. If you haven't already subscribed, just hit that subscribe button down below and come join my family on YouTube. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell so that whenever I put out a video that you can be notified and you can go watch it. So for today's vlog, I am going to be having a Zoom meeting with my some friends and colleagues, and we're going to be discussing a very relevant topic relating to what's been going on in the US and Ghana's invitation by the Minister of Tourism to actually have African Americans relocate to Africa. All right, so if you're interested in that sort of content, then just keep on watching, share your views in the comment section and all that good stuff. All right, so let's get into it.
Been feeling trapped down on the floor. I don't know what for. Feels like I'm gonna lose. Silence takes a hold. I can't let it go. Chain up, no one knows. But I won't let the storm.
Thank you for joining. So I'm a bit nervous, so bear with me. All right, so I'm just gonna do like a little intro to start the whole thing. Racism has been an issue in the United States of America for quite a while, and we had the civil rights movement running from 1954 to 1968. In 1964, as you all would know, the Civil Rights Act was passed, which basically said that we're going to end segregation in public places and ban employment discrimination on the basis of race, sex, nationality, and all of that good stuff. But here we are, 52 years later, and we're still being forced to have this discussion or, this conversation on racism. Well, last year, Ghana had their year of return initiative, and I'm going to share my screen for a bit. Ghana had their year of return, and basically that was to basically commemorate the 400 years since the first enslaved African touched on American soil in Jamestown, Virginia. And the president actually went around to different Caribbean islands apologizing for the role that Ghana played in slavery. The Ghanaian tourism minister, after the whole George Floyd killing and the protest, actually gave a speech encouraging African Americans to leave when you are not wanted. So she's encouraging African Americans to leave America and move to Africa, specifically Ghana. Also, Ghana paid tribute to George Floyd on the day that he was buried by actually placing his name on the wall of the Diaspora and African Forum at the W.E.B. Du Bois Center in Ghana's capital, Accra. And in recent times too, he has been said to be, he has given citizenship to quite a few. I want to say there was a ceremony that he actually gave citizenship to 100 African Americans in Ghana. So they now have dual citizenship. They're Americans and also Ghanaians. But my question to you today basically is this. Do you think that the solution to racism in America is for African Americans to move to Africa? And before you answer, I'm just gonna go around the room and just ask people to tell me like where they're from, if they were actually born in America or they migrated to America. So I'll start with you, Cash. Are you a native of the US?
I am a native. My mom is from the UK, born to Jamaican parents, and then my father was from Jamaica. So I am African American.
Okay, Desiree?
I am a native. I was born in California.
Okay, Menelik?
Yes, I'm a native. I was born in Detroit. My family is all from America. So, yes.
I forgot to mention that part. My mother and father are also Americans.
Okay, so you're basically like second or third generation American, right, Desiree? Your grandparents
could be seventh, could be fifth.
Okay, Jabari?
Afternoon, everybody. Yeah, my parents are both from Jamaica, but I was born in the States. So I was born and raised there in Philadelphia.
Okay, Anikia?
So I'm first generation American. My parents, born and raised true Jamaicans, immigrated to America.
All right, so now that we all have introduced ourselves, well, you know me, I'm Jamaican. You know, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I definitely am Jamaican. Never lived in the US at all. Yeah. But so again, the question is, do you think that the solution to racism is for Black Americans, African Americans to move back to Africa?
So, well, I guess I'll start.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't. The way the question is addressed. I don't. I will take a little issue only because it's not a solution to racism. You know, it's not. If we all leave America, racism is still there. You haven't solved anything besides people just left America. So I don't think it's a solution per se.
I do tend to agree with you on that. Anyone else wants to chime in on that?
Okay, so I actually had the opportunity to study abroad in Ghana in 2012. I stayed in Ghana for 2.5 weeks. We started in the capital of Accra, and we basically just kind of like went around the country, going to coastal cities where slave castles were, that just, you know, it just had like that rich history still with it. And I don't know how Ghana looks today. I haven't been since 2012. I see that like it has opened up, like the tourism is like the Ghana from 2012 is not the Ghana that I see today. I feel like with the way it made me feel and some of the traditional aspects that we were able to experience, such as being renamed, we were all of us went through a naming ceremony that was traditional to all Ghanaians. The food, the accommodation, the village, the city, we had a really full-blown experience of Ghana. And I feel like for some people that may be their solution. I wouldn't say it's a solution for everybody, but I could see some people actually embracing that and wanting to, you know, be a part of that and leave what they grew up with in America where it was and move forward. I could see some people actually embracing that, but I could also see how it may not be enough for someone. And like Menelik said, it's not going to end the problem. It's still going to be there. We'll just be thousands of miles away from it.
Let me chime in. Thank you. Both of you made very wonderful points. Just to add on to them, where we could take the discussion is that two, moving to quote unquote third world country from a first world country, you know, there's an aspect of culture shock. There's aspects of fitting into the culture because now you're like a foreigner. You don't speak the language or understand what's going on. So it will be challenging in that manner. The removal aspect is like, in truth, if you remove all of the African Americans, like think of how many industries it will affect. Like, could they move? Is there a professional basketball league where LeBron can continue to do what he's doing? You see what I'm saying? So are there, is the, I guess, environment or society a one-to-one? Because whatever craft we have, everybody has a talent. And in order to move through the world, it's like you have to be able to do your talent in that particular place. So that's to say, like, everybody couldn't just snap their fingers and move, because they probably wouldn't fit in a particular niche in that society, or they would have to reinvent themselves in different ways to adapt to that particular reality, in addition to adopting a language and culture, that's welcoming,
So I wanted to say something. So like Des, I also did a study abroad in Ghana. Very similarly, we were renamed, went to the slave dungeons. I think it's very important that we stay connected to the continent. I do believe that we should feel obligated to help the continent to get back on its feet. I know there are some that do not think they should move to the continent because they feel like my ancestors built this country. My ancestors fought in wars. There's definitely no need for me to move. Like, this country owes it to us to change. And then you have others that are like, well, this country is never going to accept us. It's never going to change at the pace that I would want it to. So instead of remaining in a place that openly shows disgust to us, maybe I'll pick up, move, maybe start a business. I mean, there are so many things we could do. I mean, if we talk about Ghana and so many different parts of Africa, we have so many products that come from there. Like, I just don't see why, even if it was clothing, even if it was jewelry, even if it was the products that come from there, why is it that we can't even do some trading with people in the continent to help build their economies and help to instill pride in us and maybe even build our economies? So I think there's still ways that we can contribute and remain connected to our ancestral lands.
So for me, I agree with Desiree and Menelik. For me, it's like America is home at the end of the day for me. Like, I can travel all over the world. I can go wherever I want to be, but that's my home. And to say I'm going to leave my home, that's a choice that everyone has. But to say that's the solution to racism, I completely disagree. I think for some people, it's like, yeah, I'll go back to my roots and I'll embrace it and, you know, work through the culture shock and, you know, reconnect. And for other people, like, I live in Prince George's County, Maryland, and that's one of the most affluent Black counties in America. And to say, oh, I should leave and go to Ghana as the solution to racism, that doesn't really work for me, because I can just continue to contribute to my community, continue to like support Black businesses and see more and make sure that, you know, gentrification doesn't come into these parts that matter to me, and, you know, make a difference that way, because America is my home. And for me, moving to Ghana, it sounds like a good idea. And like Jabari said before I left, is that, you know, that culture shock in a developing country. It's different when you can go to the bathroom and flush the toilet and you know it's gonna be good, right? And you know the toilet paper gonna go down, and you know the things that you want are gonna be there. And it's an adjustment that's not for everyone. And in terms of racism, I mean, people are removed, 400 years removed from their home. The definition of home is, you know, kind of like we have to redefine that. White people still gonna white wherever we are. So
I think that's a great point.
And another thing, I will say a lot of times these conversations, when people talk about moving back to Africa or to an African country, is kind of a little problematic, because we talk like the way non-Africans talk about it, it's like we can just get up and just move it to an African country. Well, they got laws. They got immigration laws. Ghana, if you read the details about them inviting African Americans to move back there and to give them land and give it citizenship, they have some details to that. You know, you have to be a Ghanaian descent. So you have to do your genealogy or whatever and prove that you have a Ghanaian blood in you. So that's why they only recognized 100 African Americans last year as citizenship. It's not like it's just they just taking everybody. So depending on what country you go to, they're not going to it doesn't matter, you know, you don't know if they want you to come. You know, and then if you go, you really just a lot of times you are just trading your privilege. You know, okay, so you're leaving racism in America, but you're contributing to a different level of privilege when you go to another country. So you're not going to be treated like the regular people of that country. You're going to be treated like an American. You know, your privilege is from America. So it's okay if you as an individual and you want to, you might got tired of racism in America or tired of white supremacy in America.
Yep.
but then you just transferring your privilege to a different country.
Yeah, and Menelik brings up a good point, like about access. Like, what about the Black people who live in impoverished areas where we haven't even left their neighborhood? You expect them to up and move to Ghana? How? Where are the resources for that? How are they going to assimilate into that culture?
Listen, here's a fun fact. Like, I moved to Africa in 2004. I've been living and working there from 2004 to like 2012, I believe. Something like that. And again, it's like, it's a reality. So it's for professionals. You have to have a craft. Like, it's not for everybody, because you have to find a way to survive in that particular environment. So here is something though, like, you know, we all have privilege. Like, the US passport is a privilege. Like, I can land and get visa on arrival in many countries. All right. So that's a privilege. So it's not like the goal, like, society has always been divided by classes, but there's no such thing as a whole equal society, period, full stop. So I think that in terms of what you do get, like, yeah, we could say all of these things, but what you do get is the Black world. Like, if you had never woke up and see everybody Black, you don't know what that is like. It has an effect on you mentally. Like, everywhere you look, the police is Black, the guards are Black, like everybody. Like, the Black world is beautiful, all right? So it's a joy in not seeing white people, or white people a minority. When we see them walking down the street, I stare at them like, what they doing over here? What's going on, you know? So, you know, it's a beautiful thing. I think you can never snap your fingers. Everybody will have to do their homework. About which country they want to go to. You gave the details about the Ghanaian citizenship. Like, Ghana is foolish for that, by the way. That's a flaw in the mental state of Ghana, still exercising the mental mind, the Western mind of trying to divide people. All right. So now if they're saying you can only come in if you have Ghanaian descent, that's folly. Like, we know we African, full stop, period. All right. So wherever we're gonna go, if you have space to invite us, then please invite us. All right. Because now, why we got to go pay and figure all of that out? Why we got to make that investment is Ghana doing the test for free? All right. That's the question. And can they help assist us to get to other places where we want? Like, if we find out we have, like, for example, Nigerian DNA, is Ghana going to assist getting us to Nigeria? All right. So what is it? But all of that to say, ladies and gentlemen, it is individual, but at the same time, it's necessary, as Kashima was pointing out, to build that bridge. Like, it's going to take a generation to build a bridge. And everybody's thinking individual, but think about your kids. Like, even if you marry another African-American in the continent, your child is going to grow up multilingual and fuse with that culture. The same way that the Jamaican second generations in here is infused with African-American culture. They're bridges. So, if we think in one generation, it's an argument. But if we think in the higher truth, if we could build a bridge between the continent and the rest of the Black world, where, the Black people or Black America is navigating those economics and in strengthening Black America, then it will be worth the investment, But anyway. That is all. I pass.
As Menelik did mention, you leave America to get rid of the racism, but you go to Africa and you still have to deal with nepotism and classism. So there are other isms to deal with. So, as I guess most people are agreeing, it isn't a solution. It definitely is not a solution. So my other question is this: what can we do? And I'm saying we. I'm not African American. I'm not Black American, but I am Black, and it's not one man's fight. It's a Black racist fight. So even though I am from a country where racism isn't rampant at all, we do have classism, but not racism. I still stand with my Black brothers and sisters. So what can we do to help to combat this? Because this has been going on for years. What can we do? I do understand. The protests that have started from George Floyd's death. Different countries coming in and joining in with this protest. It is a positive look, but I tend to find and correct me if I'm wrong, but I tend to find that sometimes this is just like so sensational. So something happens and we protest, we fight, but then we forget about it in a month or two. Is that what's going to happen now? Is that the direction you think is that the direction you think this is going to take, or do you think it's going to be more permanent? What do you think? What are your thoughts on that? Yes, Anika.
The teacher in me is raising my hand. So I think Jabari and you, Judy, both made a good point. Like for me and my husband he claims to be second generation Jamaican, but his mom was born in Jamaica, but emigrated to America, and she eats chitlins. So therefore she's no longer Jamaican in my opinion, but we're still, we're still. What does it mean to be Jamaican?
Bun out chitlins.
We're not eat that.
Yes, I'm like, do you know what turn cornmeal is? No, okay, then you've excommunicated from the Jamaicans. You know what I mean? But for our children, I'm always thinking about, what does that look like? What does their ties to their roots look like? And my older sister, who's married a Black American, her thing is like, my son is going to know Jamaica. He's going to go to Jamaica. He's going to learn patois. He's going to know all the food. He's going to know all the sayings, everything, every song, everything. He's going to be Jamaican through and through. But for me, my thing is, I want my children to be multifaceted. So I want them to be able to live in every country in the world and feel comfortable to speak different languages, but to know where their parents are from. My dad's 70. He still reminds us of when they did use pence and stuff like that from the British colonization. Those things matter, right? And then in creating the future, they have to make their own say. And Judy make a good point. Wherever my children go, wherever I go, I'm blickety black, blick, black, black. Here in the Arab world, I'm the sand N-word, And I think in order to bridge those roots connections, like people have to want it for themselves. Because I've had friends who are African, first generation African, they're like, we ain't doing that. We ain't going back to them. We are American. Like they gonna go up on macaroni and cheese, fried chicken, and that's it on that. Whereas for other people, it's like, no, they need to know in the motherland where they belong. And for me, I don't think it's like black or white. I think there's definitely reformation in education.
It's the duty of every parent to infuse a child with good aspects of culture, what culture that is. All right, so that's the parent's duty. So if you are upholding any culture, then it's the good things that you want to put or infuse into your children to carry out, in my opinion. But I don't even want to focus just on Africa. Like it's a black world. Like, look, we could talk about Black people making those links with the Caribbean and getting stronger. We could talk about it making with Brazil and getting stronger. Mm-hmm. So it's like really the highest truth is that Black Americans are in a position, or African Americans, or even when I say Black America, I include the Latinos. So I include my Dominicans, because some of them look like me, So Black America, the only reason why it's a great topic, or or Black Westerners rather, because it could happen through the UK and anywhere as well. But they are in a position to make the transition and build the bridge, all right, economically, all right, and privilege-wise. So it's easier for any successful or quote unquote professional, person of Black origin in America to go back to these other places and build those bridges. It's harder for people in Ghana to come forward and try to build a bridge than it is for anybody with that U.S. passport. You have that global privilege. So you have access. If you have a UK or American passport, you have access to things that the average Black person on the planet does not have. So it's understanding the privilege, understanding the context of what's going on. So I think Anika, before she dipped out, was saying, I don't know athleticism, but she was making a good point. Just about those economics, the affluent communities. So yeah, is that community reaching out and trying to build a bridge to Africa? Yeah, they affluent. Are they going to be, letting the water trickle down and invest in the Black world at large, you know? So those are good questions.
And to finish off my point, it's education, because like Black history doesn't begin with slavery, right? People forget about the Moors, how they taught Spain. Spanish people were speaking a barbaric tongue before they came in and taught them Spanish. It's all about educating people. Why are people migrating to countries like America and the UK? Yeah, you ravage our economy. We ain't got no jobs or no education or no food. Of course, we're going to go to the land of opportunity, and dispelling the myth of the land of opportunity. I don't know why people think America's roads are made of gold and we just pick it off and take it home, but that's not what it is. You know what I mean? And people have to be educated so they can make a decision or choice for themselves on how we move forward.
The fact of the matter is, we shouldn't have to be we shouldn't be thinking about moving to Africa to solve racism. We should have the freedom to basically move anywhere, not because of racism, but simply because the whole world, the entire world, was built on our backs. We should have the freedom to move basically anywhere we want to move, not because of racism, but because of how we have contributed to all economies around this world. You know, it's just so sad that after so many years, we just keep on coming back to having these sort of conversations. It really is disheartening, but
now, I agree that, you know, that all like Black people should move out the country at least, or need to start traveling, because it can help your mental health. Especially like for Black men or any black person to move to a different country where like we over here in Qatar. When I go outside, I'm not worrying about the police. I'm not hyper attentive about if a police car drive past. Is he checking me, or is he gonna stop me? So that does wonders for your mental health. You know, it takes a lot of stress off you when you're just walking around. But at the same time, you gotta remember, everybody's not going to get the same feeling when they go, even if they go to Africa or Latin America, depending on what country you go to. So here, as a man, I'm going to be treated different than as a woman. I have more freedoms here than maybe women when y'all walk around. You know, y'all have other things to worry about. So if you move to a certain country, so what about the LGBT community? You know, if they move to a certain African country that don't accept them, then is they freeing themselves from a different oppression? So you have that everybody's not going to have the same experiences when they go to a different country. Like when I went to Jamaica, and like Jabari was saying, to see just Black people everywhere, and the way they talked about white people and Asians, you know, and in some parts it was a little racist, you know, but just to see nothing but a sea of Black people, like you said, Black police, black businesses, but at the same time you still have that colonialism overhead, you know, that you know, because colonialism has already captured the whole world already. So you have other issues that you're going to deal with. So just leaving to escape racism, yeah, you can get, it can help your mental health, but at the same time, is it damaging other parts? You know, is it stressing you out in a different way? And most of the, like over here in Qatar, we have our privilege because we are professionals. You know, we from America, but look at the way they treat the immigrants. You know, there's a whole, you know, if we were treated, if Black Americans were treated like this in America, this would be a whole different level of oppression. You know, so you have to, you know, it's a lot of different things you have to worry about or have to think about before you just be like, oh, I'm gonna just move to a different country. You know, there's countries I would love to move to, but you know, am I actually going to be comfortable after a while? So I don't know. Like I said, it's up to the individual. You know, it's just not going to be a wholesale of all African Americans just moving. Especially like what like I said, what country are you going to move to? You go to South Africa, now they got real issues over there, and look at the way they treat Nigerians and Ghanaians. You know, so
yeah, every country has its own dynamic, man. That's a fact.
Yeah.
South Africa is xenophobia. Really, the white South Africans are pretty cool with every other African except the South Africans because of their history. Yeah, but you making great points, man. By the way, I think the higher truth is like, how do we move to make it collective? Like, yes, it's individual. Like, America is the land of the individual. But when there's a movement, like there's a movement going on right now, it usually forms a collective mind or thought pattern about particular topics or agendas. So it's like, hopefully, you know, on the wider scheme of things, man, regardless of trying to make things better in America, there's a collective consciousness, because remember, Garvey is back in the 1920s talking about back to Africa. So that's even why we even echoing it today, because it was a collective thought that, you know what, it's possible and we don't have to deal with this nonsense. But you also made a good point, like, listen, the whole world is racist, like, because of that colonial structure. There's plenty of bias. Who's the heads of your schools? Is anybody working at any place where they see black man or black woman heading it up?
Even in Africa, they don't want black heads.
Yeah, even some international schools in Africa want to have white people come teach their kids because they feel like white equals international, regardless if you have more education training and you are from the same country. I mean, so that's just something we got to bear. But I want to go back to Judy. I didn't say that it wasn't a solution. It's just one of many solutions for the race. It's one of many solutions. Like, it's multifaceted. There is no one solution to it because we're dealing with the mind state of the enemy, you know, and we're dealing with people who are in their individual states as well. But it's one of the it is one of the solutions. I'm telling you, it's a bridge. Like, it's the bridge. If they go now, like, if this is the thing in the next 5 years, professionals make efforts to build those bridges between affluent black communities, such as Miss Anika mentioned, and the continent, you know, to enrich it, then, I mean, it'll be good for the black world. So it's like, look, like, do we want to see the black world collectively come up? Or do we want to just stay in the comforts of our, you know, own lives, you know, and wish the best for our children and, you know, their situations?
We can't do that because that's the colonizers. That's how they conquered us, divide and conquer, right? So we have to change that mindset. We do. It can't be about individuals anymore. It has to be about everyone.
I think one thing that, like, you were looking for solutions, and I just feel like as far as things go, we really, really need to educate ourselves and educate our own people, educate our youth, hear from our elders, almost like re-educate them as well, because they have ideas that are just like, whoa, like, you know, like, and also listen to their stories, because while I'm looking at what's going on, it, like, everything is like literally repeating itself. Literally, like, you could put like a picture from like 1950, like during the civil rights era, and compared to what the protests are happening now, it's literally the same thing. And I think that's just mind-blowing how it's like, wow, we are still fighting. But I just wanted to throw it out there, like, as far as like, what is our solution? We really, really need to educate ourselves. We can't just sit back and be quiet and be comfortable with this. We need to be uncomfortable to change things. And that's all I wanted to say.
That's really great, Desiree. Like, I think that's the solution, education. Because what Blackness means in America versus Morocco, where I went and they were like, oh, nah, you got to go to real Africa. No, we're not Black, we Arab, right? Versus South Africa, where they don't even believe in, it's colored, and then there's Black, right? Like, across the world, Blackness has a different definition. And I think the solution is education and redefining what Blackness is throughout the entire diaspora and the entire world, not just in one place where it's being zoomed in on.
And I think it's economic. I think once Black people have economic power and realize their economic power, I think they'll gain more respect. And I don't know if the racism will be as prevalent because some argue that because of our place in society, that's why we're treated as such. So here in the Arab world, they may look, obviously they don't know where we come from. They don't know Judy's from Jamaica. They don't know we're from the States. They assume we're from the continent. And so there are people that if they want to put you in their place, they'll call you Abid. They'll call you a slave because here, many of the Africans that came here were in subservient positions. You know what I mean? And so just like elsewhere in the world. So it's a global issue. Racism is a global issue due to white supremacy and because of our positions. But when Africa was on top, everybody was going to Africa, getting educated, learning about medicine. So I think a huge part of it is if we have that economic power, I do believe that the way we're looked at may shift. That's just my own personal opinion.
Okay, so again, thank you guys for joining in. And just to sum up what I got from this whole conversation is that moving is not a one all fit all solution to racism. However, in order to combat this permanently, we have to look at educating ourselves and our children, understanding our economic power, and also standing in solidarity with each other. Is that what we got from all of this? Yes. No, did I miss something? Anything? Yes.
One thing to add, man, I think the education of sorry, give thanks. I think that the education
come up to that, please, Larry.
Yeah, man, for come closer, sorry. All right, I think education is not only for Black America, if this is the topic, or the Black world at large in terms of the definition. I think it's like for white people as well, because even if you are successful, a multimillionaire or what have you, you know, Jay-Z dropped the song Still a Nigga, you know, with the OJ song on the 444 album, if y'all want the hip hop reference. But it's like you can be paid and be doing all wonderful things and anybody still could come spit on you. So it's not necessarily defined by that. Secondly, who controls the Black education? See, that's another question. Like, Black people in control of their own community, so they can't even put out or infuse a curriculum with the Black knowledge, with that right knowledge. And it would have to, you know, all of these charter schools popped up, but they just, you know, that's not it. Let me say it's not it. They still perpetuate in the same meditation that education has instilled, teaching, you know, white history and what have you, and bringing how they keep the Black American trapped is they always remind them of slavery. Like, they won't let them move past it. So every slave movie, every whatever, like, we got so many heroes. They keep us in the past, you know, and that kind of keep the people trapped in the mind state. Like, they always starting from slave. So it's a part of their identity. Slave is a part of their identity. You don't see any movies about the Black future outside of the Black Panther, you know, where you see the Black man in another light or the Black person in another light, you know. So just those things, like, education got to be universal, but more so, you know, I think the economics is a factor only if we are strengthening the Black world at large, you know, through our privilege and access.
Okay. I
appreciate this, Judy, and what Jabbar is saying. I think that would be good for another conversation, you know, because I can definitely go dwell a little bit more into that.
Well, we know.
Okay. All right, guys. So thank you for joining in on this Zoom. I really do appreciate all the insight that you gave. Thank you all so much for doing that. I'm just going to end this with a quote from Haile Selassie that was popularized by Bob Marley. Until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, everywhere is war. And until there are no longer first-class and second-class citizens of any nation, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes, and until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race, there is war. And until that day, in dream of lasting peace, world citizenship, rule of international morality will remain but a fleeting illusion to be pursued, but never achieved. Now, everywhere is war. All right, guys. Again, thank you all for joining in, and let's do this again soon.
Yeah,
Bye.
Judy.
thanks.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've come this far and you haven't subscribed as yet, what are you waiting for? Just hit that subscribe button. All right, come join my family. And until then, I'll see you in my next vlog. Bye.